Kolarctic CBC arranged in Luleå, Sweden, an event for all Kolarctic CBC projects which were selected to be financed until then. The projects were given the word. For example, in a panel discussion where 4 project workers talked about their experience.
One of the reasons why we have moved into the Kolarctic program is I find the Kolarctic program area, as a very interesting area. It's full of natural resources, it's full of nature, it's big oceans, the Barents Sea, the Pecora Sea, etc. There is lots of natural resources in the ocean, and there is of course ice as well. So there's lots of interesting topics in the program area.
First of all, it's a richness to our program area that we are different nationalities and we have different background and we have different history. Let's say we have had big problems with the customs because we have had problems to cross the border with the scientific samples and so on, and no one can answer how to do it so that problems would disappear. But anyway, after all, they are only practical issues to be tackled, and in a larger perspective, I would say that this area, although it is a peripheral area in the sense of latitudes and so on, it's a very rich area, not only from its physical point of view, but from its cultural and social level also. So that the differences are life and everyday life, so to say.
It seems that diversity and differences are also richness, but in an area like Kolarctic and a program like Kolarctic CBC, you should expect unexpected challenges.
We must change our partners, and we had not even started our work. And I was mid in the interest of those and managing authority, but anyway, we had a common goal, what to go forward and towards, and a straight and open contact with the managing authority helped a lot, and it was not a long process, a process of 2 months or so to make some amendments to the grant contract.
If you go to for instance, the Arinka project, we have had issues on discussing or understanding the scope of work, and maybe we as lead partner wrote the scope a little bit too wide, and this ends up in how do you interpret the scope. And we had discussions with our Swedish partner, and for instance on railway maintenance, which is a huge area, and how to detail this analysis and this report and the level. And we had to use a couple of more months than we planned, and we have an agreement, and the reports are being made, the analysis are being done. But you have to sometimes take a little bit of time to do this.
To be honest, I had in advance a little bit unrealistic vision about the goals of the project, and because it was such a long time gap between the application phase and the onset of the project, 2.5 years about, the other partners were already had their minds in other businesses and had some other activities to be involved, so that when I read through the work plan, I was the one who mastered that best, and I was a little bit surprised that, okay, is it up to me to start to implement this, because I had actually not been involved in the process.
The Kolarctic CBC and ENI as a financing tool seems somewhat complicated. This is self-evident when EU countries, the partner country Russia, and the participating country Norway participate in both implementation of projects and in financing them. It is a puzzle.
Let's say the financing mechanism, when we finally get the grant or we need to set up the partnership contract, and then you have everything signed, all the annexes and that stuff, and you get the grant contract from Kolarctic EMA. It's, I would say, fairly complex process just to do that. And then we also need a Norwegian grant in place from Vadsø, which happened pretty fast when we needed it. All the honor for that. And then we come to what I would say a little bit more comprehensive thing on the Norwegian side is the Norwegian state funding, co-funding in a way. And for other partners there is a 50 plus 40%. In Norway we have to apply more or less to all counties in northern Norway, Finnmark, Troms and Nordland, to establish this co-funding. And that is a few more applications and approval processes and takes time, and then you have to report status when you are going to get compensated, and even though also for Nordland County, they are not here today, I think, we have to reapply every year for the funding and report. So it's quite a lot of work for us. I don't know if it's possible to change this system. Maybe a little bit more coordination between the counties in North Norway could be one answer.
I think that it is a relevant case that we, Russia, and the European Union are operating in different legislation environment. Because Russian legislation sets some norms and requirements that are different from European Union directives and rules. Especially this is related to procurements, taxes, accounting, financing, to different legal entities.
If you go back to financing, that's for our point of view, we need in Sweden apply for co-funding at our national authority, and then we have to apply for a promise, you can say, and then we get the promise that they most likely will like to co-finance us, and then you apply for the funding from the fund, and then when you get that you apply for real to this national authority. Actually, like the Finnish guys are having a much better system where they are applying and they know how much co-funding they need, and then the rest is backed up by the Finnish state. That would be ideal for us also.
The people speaking here have more or less gone through a project preparation process. Olga Klisheva in the panel asked them about recommendations for future projects.
For us, it's when we do different projects, it's most important to get the right partners, as we have talked about earlier. So it's try to get together and meet and see each other, not just on email. That's maybe a good start, but not all of it. And also try to get recommendations. If you know someone that's cooperated before with these partners, that's also a good way to find out if they're trustworthy or not. But it's also during the years met partners that's really enthusiastic, but they don't have any reality behind them. So that's also really good to know that they have their finance in place and they have a good connection within the country also, that they can perform what they are telling they're supposed to do.
I agree with this last speaker that select your partners carefully. But of course there are challenges, and what we have tried to do is to arrange physical project meetings fairly often, actually more often than planned. And this is a way that we get to know each other also when we have specific agendas and deliverables to be presented and produced, and we discuss further plans during these meetings.
Terhe Nordvåg brought up a topic not yet handled. If you are going to address industries, you must have something to show.
If you look on the SESIMA project, for instance, there is planned quite a lot of level with interaction with the industry. And to get to the industry, I think we need to have something in the pocket. We need to have done some project work so that we have something to present or in a way sell to them before we can start asking them about the impact of the project. What do they think they have learned of the SESIMA project? So that means a little bit more time before we start approaching the industry on these surveys.
One fresh recommendation is, do not think too generally, be more concrete.
If you look on the scope we are describing, maybe it could be wiser to be a little bit more concrete, not too wide, and that will give you a little easier situation when executing the project and reporting the project. So that might be work a little bit. It demands a little bit more work maybe than to get to that level, but that could be an okay recommendation, I would say.
So, according to your experience, Magnus, what would you recommend to other projects in the future? So, by the application development and implementation of projects?
The easiest explaining you can do, or best advice, is to read what the funding is paying for. So you can't squeeze a squared cube into a round hole. It's not possible. So that's the most important. What is this funding all about, and what is possible to get co-funding from this funding? And of course, get good partners and talk to each other and get to know each other. So you can ask stupid questions. So you can find out. I can call my colleagues in Russia or Norway or Finland and said, what do you think about this? Is this something we can do together or not? And is this possible or not? So you need to have that communication. Otherwise, if you don't dare to ask, you're fucked, you can say. So you're in trouble immediately if you can't communicate with each other.
Svetlana, what is your recommendation on project and program level?
The main recommendation is to take into consideration the national legislation, particulars of our countries, and to take reasonable steps in favor to overcome them.